Well, Ted, you found yourself a deck of many things. How many draws would you like?
This is supposed to be really good. I want to draw 4.
All right.
So for my first draw...
All right, you got the Jester. That's a pile of XP. Plus, if you wish, you don't have to. You can draw 2 additional cards.
Man, I just got 10,000 XP. Yeah, heck yeah, I want to draw 2 more cards.
All right.
So...
The Idiot. Ooh. I mean, fortunately, you're a paladin, so intelligence isn't really that important for you, but it just went down. Sorry.
All right, no big deal. Next card is the Key.
Ooh, the Key. That's a good one. In your hand appears a flaming, with radiant energy, Holy Avenger.
Sweet! Balance. That's got to be a good one, right?
Ooh, balance. Paladin isn't going to like this so much because you're a paladin. You were lawful good, but now you're chaotic evil. Paladin's going to abandon you for your wicked ways. I'm sorry, Ted.
Oh, crap. Talons. I grow claws, right?
Well, it's kind of like that, but actually all the magic items you have, they disintegrate. They're worthless dust now.
I still got my Holy Avenger, right?
No, that's a pile of dust at your feet. I'm so sorry, Ted.
Skull? This doesn't sound good.
Oh yeah, it just keeps getting worse for you, my friend. I am so sorry. You summon an avatar of death. Prepare to defend yourself with no magic items.
Pull the skull, huh? Ready to do this?
Uh-oh.
Man, totally naked facing an avatar of death, that's a bummer. Come on, let's go.
Hey folks, Dave from Nerdarchy, for Nerds by Nerds. I'm Nerdarchist Dave, and today I'm hanging out with
Nerdarchist Ted.
A place for news, views, and homebrews for D&D and other RPGs.
Don't forget to hit that subscription button, as well as attune to that notification bell.
As you can see, we've got decks of many things in our hands. We are going to be talking about the deck of many things, the pros, the cons, and also we want to thank our sponsor who's made this video possible, The Deck of Many. They have a Kickstarter going on right now for animated spell cards. You can go in the description, you can check that out, as well as their website. Deck of Many Things, it has been the boon and bane of adventurers since the beginning of time, or at least Dungeons and Dragons.
It's gotten this really bad reputation that it destroys games, so much so that, you know, many DMs that I know are like, nah, I just don't use that in my game.
The question is there a way to use a legendary item in a D&D game like the Deck of Many Things and now have it not completely ruin your campaign?
There's absolutely ways to do it. And the first and foremost is if you actually read the magic item description, number one, it says, okay, there's 22 cards there, but 75% of them only have 13 cards, and 2 of the cards can disappear. So you could legitimately say that you've got a deck that's got 11 cards, and you can tailor make that deck for your game.
Not only that, I would say it's a deck of many things, so if I use it, I want there to be good things and bad things in there. So I would probably pull out the worst things, like the thing that like imprison your soul. There's just cards that make it so that your character isn't playable anymore. I would probably remove them and leave some of the other bad stuff, right? And depending on the players at your table, you might be able to get away with the balance card and have them change alignment and change the way they play their characters. And the other people in the game, they might take that as a quest to try and fix their friend, their companion. Things like where you're losing your magic items, it sucks, but you can still play the game. If you were to lose XP, I don't even think that's a card anymore, but if you were to lose XP, it would set you back, but you could still come back from that. So there's definitely like bad things that can happen, but you could still continue playing your character.
This thing, while it's got this bad reputation, a lot of the cards, you know, for good or for bad, these cards have adventure links in them. You can literally say, okay, well, hey, you know, that magic item that you lost, well, can you quest for another one? Hey, that bad effect where you lost XP or you lost those items, can you go on a quest and try and find them again?
Absolutely. That's what you need to do when you put a magic item like this in your game. You have to like think a little bit further ahead and say, okay, what are some of the possibilities that can happen, and can I turn this into other plot points in the game? Know this though, if you do put it in your game and you already have ongoing stories and plots that you want to complete, this could very rapidly derail it depending on which cards you allow into that deck.
Depending upon which cards that you draw, as well as what what effects you wind up doing. How good are you at improvising? If you have an NPC that is key and crucial to the story, and they're aiding the party in this story, it's going to be a major effect if all of a sudden that NPC is now hostile towards the party, and you don't know how to properly handle that. It's like, well, they could be hostile, but still on the same path. The rest of the views aren't changed. They're just aggressive towards the party.
Some of the ways you can use a deck of many things in your game is, one, it's a fantastic opportunity to introduce props into the game. It's very easy. A deck of many, they put out decks of many things that you could use and put it, or you can use playing cards, or you can use tarot cards. There's a bunch of different things you could do. You could probably even find things on the internet where you print them out on cardstock or something and use those as well. I mean, even deck of many, they have an option where you can buy all their cards at a reduced price and just print them out as PDFs, and you put them on cardstock, and then you could use something like that as well. Or, like we said, standard player cards. But anytime you bring something out at the table and lay it in front of your players, I feel like it enhances the experience.
Well, I mean, there is something to the effect of physically drawing the card. I like playing card games and that kind of stuff. So shuffling cards, trying to get the mojo, the magic working. It's like, all right, what do I get? As opposed to with everything else in role-playing games where you're typically just rolling dice, you change the medium and it changes the whole feel of your interaction.
Yeah, it kind of draws the players into the table. Now, one of the things too, say you're using a standard deck of many things, why would anyone ever want to risk it? I mean, there's some really terrible things that can happen in that deck.
Well, there's 22 cards, as I pointed out, and doing the math, there's 11 good effects, 11 bad effects, by my opinion, by my estimation, and that's a 50-50. And we know that people in real life are willing to gamble all the time, and 50-50 odds are pretty good.
Yeah, but you know what? When you're talking gambling in real life, you might lose some money. Maybe you could even lose your house, which, I mean, actually, there's a card that kind of does that in the deck of many things, too. But an Avatar of Death rarely shows up when you're at the casinos and have a bad night.
Yeah, but all right, let's look at this. The Avatar of Death, unless you have other bad effects like, hey, you become stupid, lose all your powers, lose all your magic items, and then face the Avatar of Death, as you saw with myself, he shows up with, half your max hit points and doesn't have an extraneous amount of powers, is really not that difficult of a fight. Yeah, you have to solo him, but if you're a significant enough level that you're finding a legendary magic item, well, let's face it, you probably can take him.
That's true enough, but there are much worse cards in the deck of many things than the Avatar of Death, in my opinion. The Void, where you basically get imprisoned and you need a wish spell even just to divine where your friend has been imprisoned, that is really bad.
That one sucks. Getting minuses to all your saving throws is massively detrimental for an ongoing campaign. If you happen to be an intellect-based character, losing intelligence can be, massively detrimental to your mechanical character build. But when you look at all of the possible things that you can get, getting a keep, getting ridiculous amounts of experience, getting magic items, getting stupid amounts of money, there are people that are just keyed in on that luck of the draw, and they're gonna love it.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, the movie with Will Smith, Bright, in it, is all about this magic wand that most people that touch it, they're going to be incinerated. But that one person, that 1 in a million, if they get it, they're going to be all powerful and they can alter reality. And, in that movie, people were going nuts just for that shot at trying to do it.
Yep.
What are some ways you would use a deck of many things in your game? Or how would you plan it if you decided that you're going to throw this sheer chaos into your D&D game and you don't want it to be ruined or wrecked?
All right, well, first and foremost, I very rarely put an item like this in the game as just a straight up random roll on a DM, loot chart, let's see what you get. This is something that's going to be tailor-made for my game, and I'm going to put it in when I feel all right, I think the characters have progressed far enough that they could potentially deal with something like this. And then I myself, as I said earlier, I would take out the cards that I would think are a problem. For me as a GM, as well as for the players, I'm not super fond as a GM of the wish spell, and there's a card that gets you 1d3 wishes. I'm sorry, I'm pulling that out of the deck. That one is just not in the one that you're going to find in my game. All the cards that I think are going to be an issue, I'll push away, and then I'll make the deck fun and interesting. I might modify some of the cards. I might put things in there that are different or different effects than what's there. And this way, when somebody draws and they think, oh, out of game, I know what this does, and I describe something different, it'll set them off, and they won't know what to do because something different happened.
I've also heard the idea of if your campaign is close to ending, you can throw something like this in there because your game's ending anyway, right? So it doesn't matter as much. But what about for a game that maybe you're not trying to end it, the players aren't trying to end it, but it is kind of ending? I think you know what I mean. Like, we've played plenty of campaigns that have just like kind of fizzled. And, you know, most of our games have done that. They don't go out with a bang, but they just kind of like dwindle off into the darkness.
Well, you know, that's one of those things that you could absolutely, you know, take this and be like, all right, is this going to stoke the fire? Because you have the ability to make some grandiose changes. In those situations, what would you do with it?
Well, I'm looking at some of the cards, right? Like, there's one where you literally get a keep. It's not necessarily unoccupied when you get it, though. There, you know, so there could be a monster in there that you have to clear out.
It could be monsters.
It could be monsters. It could be the monster and its minions. So it becomes a dungeon that your party has to go clear out. But afterwards, you know, because of the magic of the card, it's going to rewrite and alter reality so that you are now officially, legally the owner of this keep. So it becomes an adventure seed. It's not just the magic item by itself. We also had some other ideas off camera we were talking about that you could do as well for developing actually a campaign around this item.
So I think this was a fantastic idea, and this was brought up by Nerdator Doug. So thank you for that awesome idea. What if the game starts, and similar to that Bright you know, thing with the wand on Netflix, you know, what if you find the pouch, this, you know, luxurious velvet pouch that, you know, you find early on in the game. We're talking first tier, and it just has residual magic. And, you know, you take it around and people have suspect of what it is. And eventually you find that, you know, this is the deck of many things, but
minus the deck.
Minus the deck, you wind up having this item that it doesn't have any power until all of the cards are collected and placed in. You know, you might know where some are, you might have an idea, so it becomes this backdrop of everything else that's going on, but the deck is important to whatever your major plot line is. Perhaps the deck doesn't have what's in the Dungeon Master's Guide. You know, you're going to create your own things, and you've got the ability to use it in new and interesting ways, and you need those cards to be able to defeat some great evil.
What if there's some arcane machine that is actually powered by a deck of many things, right? And you need that machine in order to do something. Like you said, stave off a great evil, save the world, whatever. But ultimately, you need the deck, and you need to give the deck to this machine. So this raises some problems. One, other people are probably looking for the cards as well. Word gets out, whatever. So maybe the pouch gets stolen from you. You have to steal it back. Or, you know, it becomes this mad scavenger hunt to get all the cards, and you have competing groups that are doing this. But not only that, as you draw closer to the end, you know, you could have NPCs whispering in the ear of the players going, you know, you could use it the way you intend it. Or I hear, you know, unlimited power can be found within the deck of many things. There are so many amazing things that you could garner from just a single draw. You could have wishes fulfilled. You could become a king with your own keep. All these different things that they're just listing. So by the time that they've collected the deck of many things, and it comes to the moment where they could save the kingdom, save the world by feeding the cards into this machine, or they could be like, oh, I could just draw. What if I only draw 2 cards? Maybe it doesn't really need all of them, right? You know, like they can have these moral dilemmas and have to really think about, do they want to use it as intended, or they want to do the selfish thing and try and gain from it?
Having those moral dilemmas are always a great way to, you know, hoist onto your players. Like, all right, what do you do? And, you know, if you're playing a homebrew setting, or, you know, some kind of legacy game, you know, then it's going to have, you know, repercussions on the story.
Yeah, your whole campaign setting could change due to something your players did or didn't do, which is always a lot of fun for me.
I had another way that you could wind up using the deck of many things in new and interesting ways. The cards are supposed to be I draw and I get the effect. But what if you turn that whole idea on its side? What if you could say, all right, well, you still have these kind of effects, but you draw the cards and kind of like, Yu-Gi-Oh style, you wind up throwing them and it creates an effect out on the battlefield. Well, so, okay, well, you summon the Avatar of Death that's now in there. So as opposed to, oh, it's half the hit points of the person who drew it, maybe it's something, much more fierce and devastating. And now it's an enemy to everybody that's there. Maybe it'll attack you, maybe it'll attack everybody. You don't know. You could have a lot of fun having this kind of, crazy effect on a battlefield, along with, the good and the bad.
Also, you could use it almost like when you're talking about that way, that makes me think of the game Munchkin and the way you apply curses on other people and use it that way. Now, the standard deck of many things, I think wouldn't work very well for that because everything is so uber powerful.
Right.
And there's no balance to the item as well. At that point, there's no reason to not draw like all the cards, right? If you're just going to use the bad ones on your enemies and keep the good ones for yourself. So there's that. That being said, though, the way the deck is actually written, when you find it, you decide how many draws you're going to do, and you have an hour to draw all of those cards. At the end of that hour, they draw themselves, so all the effects just start piling up. It's not like you can stave off the bad stuff by just carrying around the deck with you. Right. After you're if you're like, I'm going to draw 4, and your first card is awesome, and you're just like, that's it, I'm just going to put this in my pocket, and I'm not going to do anything else with it for forever.
59 minutes later, up pop the cards and the effects come no matter what.
Now, we mentioned the throne card, and that's the one that makes you super persuasive and gives you a keep, which then may end up having a dungeon that you then have to go clear out. That's a great Adventure Seed card. There's a couple other ones that work really well as well. You have the Rogue card, and that makes one NPC that was once a friend or ally of yours become hostile. So that could be an Adventure Seed in itself. Whatever plots that they kind of hatch against you could be your next series of adventures. And you never know who it's going to be.
And on that note, it's up to the GM's interpretation how they want to handle that. And I briefly touched on this before. What exactly does hostile mean? Does it mean, okay, they're going, they're plotting against you? Does it mean that they're now no longer on the same side and you can't work together? Or does it mean it's like, all right, I'm willing to see the same goal that we have to its end, but I don't like you, and when all is said and done, you're going down.
There's a lot of different ways you can interpret that and use that in your game. It could be just a foil, like from the Unearthed Arcana. I believe they put it in Xanathar's Guide later. That idea that it's someone that competes against you. Maybe they don't overtly act out against you and do things to you per se. But like Ted said, they're hostile. They're not your friend, and they're not going to want to work with you unless it suits them. The last one is Flames. This one's a great one. This one could actually completely change your campaign, and not necessarily in a bad way, but you gain the ire and enmity of a devil, a powerful devil. It could be a pit fiend, or it could be, an archdevil. It could be Asmodeus, really, if you wanted it to be. But not only do they hate you now because of the deck of many things, but destroying you is just not enough for them. It's just not good enough. They want to see everything around you burn. They want to see you suffer. So this can actually work to your advantage as a DM, as the players are getting attacked by cultists, assassins, devils, and being framed for stuff. Like their NPC allies and family and friends are being attacked. Just horrible things keep coming after them. So it becomes a place to create new adventures from and new stories from.
You could take this and you could go like, okay, you draw the card and an effect, happens. Okay, you see fire, but it doesn't tell you what the card does. It's typically just an image or a name that's on the card. Nothing in the Dungeon Master's Guide says that the players know what happens. So you could literally just reveal, okay, you see fire and red for a moment, and okay, everything seems fine.
Or visions of everything you care about burning. You know,
however you want. If you want to open it up, devils are typically lawful. So like the devil could just appear in a burst of flames, and he's sitting there with this scroll, and it's like, oh, you have earned my enmity, and dire consequences to you and yours. Good luck, and he disappears. Or you could just have to have them quest and figure out what actually transpired here. And over the course of your campaign, all these things keep happening until they figure out what is going on, and then have to go deal with this devil. This in and of itself is a multi session story arc to get dealt with, or it could be an entire second half of your campaign.
Question is, how will you use the Deck of Many Things in your game? Is it completely off limits, or do you let your players go wild with it? We got a place where we can discuss that. That is down in the comments below. While you're at it, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
While you're down there, don't forget to check out that Kickstarter and the awesome stuff from Deck of Many.
So until next time,
stay nerdy.